Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Deal with Vehano Joseph. This is a show dedicated to all levels of entrepreneurs looking to scale and improve their lives. So let's dive on in with our next guest. Hello, Beyond the Deal Nation, and welcome to another podcast. If you're new here, I just want to remind you that this show is all about scaling your business, building wealth, and unlocking success. Today, we're diving into the world of business performance and leadership with Bruce Hill. He's a seasoned business performance advisor and sales trainer at New Skills, New You. Bruce has extensive experience in helping businesses grow by optimizing their workforce strategies, enhancing employee performance, and creating systems that sustain success. His approach combines strategic insights with hands-on solutions that drive real results for businesses of all sizes. In this episode, we're going to talk about Bruce's journey, his strategy for driving performance, and the lessons he's learned about leadership and resilience in today's competitive landscape. With that, welcome, Bruce. Happy to have you here, my friend. How are you?
Thank you, man. I'm excited. Another day's another chance. I get to talk about my favorite thing. So
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
win-win.
yeah. No, I love that. I always highlight one thing that we always see them for like the snippet in life, right? So you only see them for a moment on LinkedIn or Facebook or in person at an event, but you never get that time to get the story. And, today's all about sharing that story, your story, and really what drove you to get to your success in life. And, so let's dive into that. Like where did you start? What inspired you to become a business advisor, and how did you find your way to your new endeavor, New Skills, New You?
So I created New Skills, New You on accident. It started with me moving from Ohio to Nashville. I forgot to tell the person I was dating at the time. So she wasn't very happy. And I said,
That you
I
were
want
moving,
something
or
different. Yeah, that I was moving to a whole new state. It happened real
right?
fast. I got excited. So anyway, that lets you know how long that lasted.
Yep, yep.
But I mentioned that because something she said before I left, she said, "Why are you going, to a new city, new state, new role?" And I said, "Man, I want something new for my life." And she said, "Bruce, people don't change." And so I spent that drive, which was about 300 miles down the road, thinking to myself, can people change? And that's really where the concept of New Skills, New You were born. Because what happened was I moved from Ohio to Nashville, I had the same problems, right? I was doing the same things. I was hanging out with the same type of people. So guess what? If nothing changes, nothing changes. Now, fast forward a little bit, the role I went to move there for, they sold that division. So I was out of a job.
Mm.
I called my best friend up. I said, man, I've been working hard. I had the best performing branch, in the region, but I was getting paid the same as everyone else. I think one year my bonus was maybe $1,000. That's not very motivating. So I
Yeah,
said, man, how do I work more and make more? And here's the beautiful thing about advice, right? They can only give you advice based on their life.
right.
So if he had sold insurance, right, I might be an insurance broker. If he sold houses, right, maybe I'd be hanging out with you. I'd be a real estate agent, developer. If he had sold drugs, I might be
Yeah.
better in jail, right? But he sold cars. So guess what he told me to do? He said, go sell cars. So I found a great company, great training, and ethical company. And that's why I really became a sales professional.
Mm.
That's where I started earning more. That's the first time I earned 5 figures in a month. It was because I added a lot of value to a lot of people. And that's where it clicked. That's where like one new skill will change your life. No matter
Mm-hmm.
where you are, no matter where you were born, no matter how old you are, how much money you have or don't have, your physical ability or disability, one new skill will change your life.
And even before that, right, I want to like reiterate that what you're saying, because I 100% agree with that. It's your mindset. That mindset that you had in your car while you were driving, and you're like, well, what can I change? If you're saying I people don't change, well, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna change something, yeah, right? I'm gonna add the skill. Yeah, mindset is huge, and skills, right? You are the sum of all your experiences. So how can you ever say that you're just going to stop growing or stop challenging yourselves? Never, right? There's always something that's going to happen. And for those that seem like they're not progressing, that's probably a mental thing where they've decided, hey, I I'm stuck at this level. But when you start asking yourself better questions, like you did, the sky's the limit. So that's fascinating. So sales in the car industry is, I have some friends in the car dealership space, and some in even more unique in the funeral hearse space. So I'm very well versed in like the cycles of sales, and the it's a very cutthroat industry. So tell me some of the things that you one of those skills that you learned in the car sales business that you're applying today in your business.
So I want everyone listening to be very clear. I'm not going to teach you to be the killer closer or the master manipulator. My goal from you walking through any of my trainings, participating, don't just watch them, but participate in your own success. My goal is to help you hear yes more often while being your authentic self. Right? That's the goal. And so what I learned from selling cars, I'm not going to teach you closing techniques or persuasion, is really three very simple things.
Hmm.
Sell to people who want to buy from you. I think that's the biggest mistake that people make. They try and convince people to buy from you. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Sell to people that want to buy. And there may be some education that needs to happen,
Hmm.
but that's a consultative process, right? That's why I'm a business performance advisor. I'm not
Hmm.
gonna, I'm not going to convince you to do anything or trick you. I'm gonna say, hey, here's what I think is the best decision to help you get to your goals. Sometimes that's working with me. You can attest to this. I recommended you to people that were better served, able to help you what you needed. And that's the difference. That's the difference. So that's number one. Sell to people that want to buy from you. Number two, make it easy to do business with you. Make it easy to do
Hmm.
business with you. And then the third thing is lead with value. Lead with
Mm,
value.
that's
What
huge.
happens, some of my favorite stories are people who never bought from me, but because I led with value, they became great referral partners. So even though they didn't pay me, they helped me get paid over and over again. So that's probably a lot different than maybe you would expect a sales trainer to tell you. But that's where I found this trains to be so effective for my introverts, for my skilled, those professionals who aren't salespeople. Maybe they're really good at publishing and editing. Maybe they're really good at digital design. Maybe they're really good at marketing. I want them people to be successful. I want them to have more than enough. I want their business to grow. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, I noticed that about you. The first time you reached out to me, you're like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to connect with you, and how I can be of service and add value to your business. And we just started chatting, and next thing you're introducing me to five different people, and I think that's very authentic, and that's very, it's a great technique to get to help people, because the more people you're going to help and provide value to, the more in return the marketplace will reward you for that value.
It's the
um,
win-win.
yeah, no, it's beautiful, and I think like getting away from that, pardon the pun, the sneaky or sketchy salesman, right? The car dealer, sketchy car dealer analogy. Like you're not gonna thrive. You're not gonna survive. You want the value. You want to be presenting that. So I completely resonate with that, and yeah, that's great. What's been the most rewarding aspect of helping businesses optimize or people optimize in this? What's been the most rewarding aspect of this?
I love their success stories. And I'll admit I haven't done a great job of capturing those. There's some on the YouTube channel. If you just Google new skills New York,
Yeah.
and I've put some on there. One of my favorites, she had a chargeback. She was doing, anywhere between $8,000 to $10,000 a month. And so a chargeback was about $7,000. And they shut down your back office, the payment processor. And that's tough. That's a tough amount when that's the
Hmm.
majority of your monthly income. So it hit, and she had already done the work. So it really hit her twice, right? You lost the time, you lost the money, and then there's confidence. So when
Yeah.
she came to work with me, she's like, hey, what can I do differently? The short version, we put in a process to identify who can I serve with excellence. That's a question I ask in my book, Better Questions, Better Clients. Who can I serve with excellence? And we found if we could identify those people earlier and filter out the people that didn't fit, we're going to see less chargebacks. And she has, right? But the second thing we did was I taught her to ask better questions. And so she had people that were excited to work with her and that she was excited to work with. So from working with me, we got her back to up and running. We got, the payment process back and running. She had her first 5-figure week. And she
Wow.
had 3 successive back-to-back months, record-breaking months for her business. And she was
Excellent.
working less and she was spending less time on calls and she was working with people she was excited to work with.
Yeah.
That's what I love to do.
And is that on the marketing side or is that on the, all of the above?
It starts with clarity. It starts with clarity. What I discovered her, it's the process for someone to become a client was too complicated. It's making it
Okay.
frustrating for them and time consuming for her. On the second part, her offer or wasn't clear. So then the outcome wasn't clear. So what happens is she's going this way and the client's going this way, and they're like, hey, this isn't what I paid for.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
So
Wow.
so it really came down to clarity. And so once we figured out, hey, here's the outcome, the transformation I provide. Is that what you're looking for? Yes, great. Now the client has clarity of what they're signing up for and the results to expect. So now it's much easier for them to be happy, satisfied customers, 5-star review leaving customers, because their expectation matches reality. And so I like to call it sales strategy. That term doesn't always resonate with people, so I just say sales trainer to keep it simple. But that's
Mm.
really what happens when you work with me. I'm not going to teach you a magic sales
Script.
methodology,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I can help you serve your ideal client with excellence, what's going to happen to your business?
Yeah.
It's going to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. And, going back to that point of, um, you know, defining the key outcome and working towards what that the offering is, the value, what is it, what are we providing, right? Like, what has been some of the defining, or has there been any defining moments in your business that or career that was like, wow, this is what I need to do, and that's kind of like shaped your business?
So, man, I love that question. Let's be very clear. This is probably the ninth or 10th business that
Yeah.
I've attempted, right?
Amazing.
So many tries and fails. Sometimes try and just break even. It didn't win really big, but it didn't lose really big. It's just, so to everyone listening to this, give yourself permission to try some things that you might not get on the first time. And that's what was important for me. I was trying these things and they were kind of working. Some things just didn't work. I'm like, man, what is it that Bruce Hill can do well? And that's always the asking better questions, right?
Yep.
And so eventually I noticed a pattern of what people were asking me for. I said, man, Bruce, you've made it real easy. Can you help me get more sales in my business? So I work with professional services business, anyone that sells something that you can't necessarily touch. That's my specialty. I don't do consumer goods. Don't do car trainings anymore,
Yeah.
even though I do some sales leadership. And
Yeah.
so the pivotal point was realizing that you can do absolutely anything you put your mind to,
Yeah.
but you can't do everything.
Yeah.
You got to hone in. So I say innovation isn't in creating something new, but finding new ways to combine old things. So
Okay.
what I did was I took personal professional development and I took sales training and put it together. That's how I grow businesses from the inside out. If you
Yeah.
grow your people, you grow your business.
Right.
That was a pivotal point where I started to have success, where I was able to um, not just charge more just to raise your prices, but to offer a higher level of value that people are happy to pay for. And that took time. That took time. So I don't know if there's one single moment where I was just like, the clouds open and the voice came down, right? It happened over time. And that's
Yeah.
where the trainings I do, the books I write are to help you get there a little faster, a little smoother.
Yeah. It's stepping into, just to summarize, I think, from what I'm hearing, it's like it's taking that time to step into confidence, step into the things that you're good at, and learning, hey, I'm not all things to everybody. I'm this specific thing that I can focus on. In your case, it's leadership development and sales. So you brought the two together, which is a perfect merger, because any small business, I'm a big reader, so I love reading growth books and staying current with things like that. And one of the things I read recently was most small businesses in America, probably the world, are 3 to 4 years behind in raising their prices, because you
Hmm.
get to a point where, and I own small businesses, so I know this. When I bought one of my companies about 5 years back, they hadn't had a price increase in like 10 years, because they
10?
believe that, hey, what we're providing is like that's the best thing for this customer. And they were afraid that the customer would leave. And as soon as I bought the company, I raised the prices 25%, because we were still 70% below everybody else. So I was like, hey guys, I need to
Wow.
pay. And they didn't flinch. We had one instance where they did, but you want to do business with people that want to do business with you, and that's it, right? Like that. You're gonna have people come and go, but at the end of the day, it's really important understanding that there is this blockage in some entrepreneurs and some mom and pop or small businesses where we don't want to raise our prices, but knowing that if they had Bruce in their corner, you would have the perfect pricing strategy, and you would not be scared to raise your prices because of the value that you're adding, right? You are providing a valuable service. And so, no, man, I love that. That resonates with me. And it kind of goes into our next session, which is growth. So growth and performance, which is obviously what you embody. You've worked with a wide range of businesses and people and companies. And what are some of the key strategies that you recommend to drive business growth and improve performance at companies? Like, if you want
Hmm.
to share some of
And
those.
you ask good questions. So there's four. I call it the 4P sales strategy framework. And we should. Oh, I wonder if we can do like a gift or a bonus for the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always put books in hard copies. And the reason for that is I want you to participate in your own success. It's
Yeah.
too easy. I think, audio is easier to get distracted. You're not paying attention. With a book, you can't read a book and drive, right? You can't read a
Right.
book and watch TV.
Yeah, it's focused.
So quick highlight, and then it'll answer your question. There's the 4Ps are simple. It's people, promise, process, and pricing. And I kind of developed this, perfected this when I worked in the SaaS space. So the people, first of all, I already asked that question. Who can we serve with excellence? That's external. But internally, who do we need to be a part of our mission and vision? Who matches our values? And so we ask every set of these questions externally and then internally. The second one, the promise, we talked about already, like being clear on the transformation you provide. What's the outcome? You work with Bruce, where do you end up? Hey, your business grows. Not just revenue, but in a holistic way. And then internally, and you said you bought a business a few years ago, or I'm sure one of many. What's the exit strategy? Are you on public? Do you want to get acquired? Is it going to be a lifestyle business? You have time. People don't ask that question. And so then the process is, how are we going to get there? One of the smartest things I ever did was realize I don't know everything, and asking questions, getting help, pay a coach. Don't, you can figure it out. And we've got all sorts of tools. We got Google, we got ChatGPT. Don't figure it out. Okay. Get some help, you'll get there faster. And the third thing is pricing. The formula is very simple. Value should always be the highest, right? You should always give more than they pay for. Not your time, but that's a whole nother training. So it should be value, it should be the price, and it should be the cost. So the value is what they get, the price is what they pay. The cost is how much it costs you to deliver that product or service, right? As long as you keep it in that order, you're going to have a profitable business. You'll be scaled for growth. So to answer your question, I ask myself those same questions, and I realize while I do enjoy earning, I do love making money.
Yeah.
I really want time freedom. And so this year I've been systemizing the business so I can deliver more value to more people in less time.
Mm.
And so there might be less earned, but if I have time freedom, then we can go back and say, hey, I've got energy and attention to put on other projects. So that's how I'm growing my business. You've got to ask what you want for your business, right? Do you
Yeah.
want to hit that 2 Comma Club ClickFunnels award?
Right.
Do you want to be on E5000's fastest growing business? Like, what do you want in your business?
Yeah.
And not stopping the asset question, but answering it so clearly you can write it down.
Yeah. To get your, to summarize that, I think it's like having your elevator pitch so internally ingrained so that everybody knows what we do, what we stand for, and where we're going. Yeah, that's powerful. I really like the four. That makes a lot of sense, and yeah, you definitely would grow from that. That by implementing those types of questions. It's so important. The better questions you ask yourself, the better results you get. And how would you do that? If you don't have anybody to use as a sounding board, then go find yourself a mentor, go find yourself a coach, go find yourself somebody that can that's been through it, that can help you improve the performance of your business. So very valuable, very valuable. All right. How do you help businesses identify and address performance bottlenecks and inefficiencies? Like how do
Mm,
you, because that would be part of your process if you're working with like small businesses that have, they've probably never thought of, um, that certain things are a bottleneck in their system, or haven't had the time to even think about it because they're so busy in the day to day, just like grinding away, getting things done. So what are the how do you help businesses, identify these I guess performance bottlenecks?
how do you improve performance? So that's that third P, right? That process.
Yeah.
There's two questions. It all comes down to asking better questions. First of all, are we clear on what needs to be done? Then we'll ask the question, why does it need to be done? A lot of people ask a question like, how can we do it better? But they don't always ask the question, should we be doing this?
Mm,
And that's one of my favorite ones. What can we eliminate? That's really the first one.
amazing.
Speaking of reading, what book was that? I think it was Procrastinate on Purpose. And I always try and mention authors, when I use their metrics. But he said the first thing to do is eliminate. Then he said, what can you automate? And what can you delegate? What can you procrastinate? Okay, it needs to be done. Does it need to be done right now? And then what can
Yeah.
you execute? And that's where that same path I take folks through. So that's the first thing through
Yeah.
processes is what can we
Eliminate.
eliminate?
Yeah, good call. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you think about a lot of companies that you go in that have kind of stagnated or stuck at that same level, that or trying to break through a ceiling. They've been doing things the same way. In my past life, I was a auditor, so I went into companies and did the walkthroughs and audited public companies, and there's always that instance where you meet somebody and you're a young. This was like many years back. You're a young person coming into this accounting division, and you're asking somebody about a part of a process that they do, and you're like, well, why do you do that? Because you're like, it seems silly, right, to you, and then you're like, well, then they respond with, well, it's always been done that way.
That's the opportunity.
And
That's
so
the
there's
opportunity right there.
there's there's that of asking, what can we eliminate that just exists in all processes across, and I'm not to say that the process is wrong, but sometimes we did something a certain way, and then the business grew to a different level, and that's no longer necessary, but we've never really gone back in 10 years to actually go and improve on it. So yeah, that's huge. That's huge, guys. So just think about, what can we eliminate before we go and automate and do the next step. Like, you're just going to be, shouldn't even be there. So I really love that. And yeah, what a, this is, I love this question. And I think this would be very useful for my listeners. Are there any common mistakes that you see in businesses when it comes to like workforce management?
Yeah. So that's the first P, right? People.
People.
There's a misconception that person, an individual, is only their role. It's only the task that they're assigned to complete. And so a lot of companies, and this has become a little bit more popular in the conversation, a lot of companies test you for skills, but I'm still surprised at how few look at personality.
Mm,
And so this is something I used to train on this. I outsource it now. It's called the DISC profile, DISC.
yep.
And that looks at how people interact with each other, right? How they solve problems. And that's really helpful if you have someone that is, let's say, extroverted and people oriented. Then you put them in a very process driven, task oriented role. They probably can technically do it. They have the skills, they have the ability. But that's not where
Yep.
they're going to thrive. That's not where innovation is going to happen. That's not where creativity is going to bloom. And so it's a subtle thing, but now we're building teams again from a holistic approach. So now performance becomes less of the issue because they're excited to do what they want to do. They have
Yeah.
ideas how we can do this better, right? Say, hey, that's my favorite sentence. Hey, I had an idea. Love that. That lets me know I have the right person in the right place.
Yeah.
That simple step, I can see a lot more workplace performance improvement and consistent performance. That's the thing. Like you hire a trainer, you see a spike, and then it goes back down if the trainer leaves. When I work,
Absolutely.
because we're impacting the people, it's going to continue over time.
Hmm. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I think back to some of my experiences in just in hiring people, and we use the Myers-Briggs personality indicator. So we use a slimmed down version that anybody can get. It's called personalities.com. It's a quick,
I've used that one. Yeah.
yeah, it's a quick questionnaire, and it's so useful. Gives you some useful insights to who that person is at their core, what personality drives them, what are some of the things that kind of increases their productivity, what are the things that they shy away from. So knowing that up front, you can make a better decision. How about, Bruce, how about now that you have an existing workforce and they're maybe not the right personality for that seat? What do you guys do in that instance?
So that's a tough one for smaller businesses. Maybe let's say you have less than 50 people, which over 80% of the businesses in the US, they're really less than five, right? It's tough to move that person around.
Mm.
It's tough to say, hey, this isn't the best role for you. We have a different role. Sometimes there isn't a different role. And this is where I call it HR specialist. Don't call me to do this. This is where you need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Where do you see your long term growth with this company? We want you to hear, listen, we're not talking about firing you, but we're talking about how do we support your long term success and having that
Mm.
honest conversation. Now, in a larger company where there are multiple departments and multiple divisions, I move them. If
Yeah.
someone's happy to be there, if they're showing up and they're doing well, if the people they work with like them, I do my best to keep them.
Yeah.
That's happened to me in a role where I was meeting the bare minimum. I was like, I wasn't on a performance improvement plan. I wasn't, but I wasn't able to excel. And so through conversations with leadership, it's tough. It's tough to ask for help. It's tough to say, hey, this is not working. What can we do differently? But I
Yeah.
was able to put into a position where there's more of these conversations of development, really trainings. And so now you see the difference, right? I was happy to show up. I felt like I knew what I was doing. I felt like I could excel. I was to be able to show up and do my best and see the results of that. It's a world of difference. So
Hmm.
sometimes
That
asking
takes
those
courage.
tough
That
questions
takes courage, right? Like
does.
going to leadership and saying, "Hey, I this role doesn't resonate with me," but from an employee standpoint, right? Like this role doesn't resonate with me, but I see the vision of the company, or how would you if there's a listener out there today, how would you tell that listener to approach if they're sitting in that seat today at that company? It's not what they're good, but it's not where they in their flow state. It's not where they feel they can excel. How would you um, coach them to approach their manager or leader or owner if it's a smaller company?
So that's a wonderful scenario, and I hope it helps someone. The most important thing I have to caution you, I was fortunate. I was in a good environment where the leadership cared about us. I don't know if that's true for you that you're listening. So here's what I want you to do. I need you to remember that the company's role is to grow the company. It's not to protect you. It's not to make your life easier necessarily. Now, a great company is going to do that, but I'm going to speak as generally as possible. So what I would recommend is present it to your manager as an opportunity. Say, hey, I want to create a long-term career with this company. Can you help me create a success path and get them to document a career path and steps to take it? That is clear enough that you'll see progress. If they're willing to support you, you can see some growth.
Right.
But it's indirect enough where you won't get yourself in any hot water and get yourself fired. So I hope that helps.
No, I think, yeah. So to summarize that, I think it's take the opportunity to present yourself as a go-getter, and by doing that, by stepping up, you're actually you're it could go either one or two ways. So if your circumstance at your current company, if they're doing mass layoffs and things like that, I probably wouldn't do that, and maybe it'd be a less formal conversation just to gauge it with your supervisors. But for the most part, it's go out, and if you have those performance review times where you can actually sit down with your leader and say, I really want to make this I want to make this like a long-term home for me, and I really want to expand my career here and plant some roots. What would you recommend would be a great strategy for me at this company? And if they don't give you a good answer or plan like what Bruce was outlining, then it's probably not the right environment that nurtures growth. And maybe that place just wants, clock punches, and you get that too, right? It's just how it
Sure.
is. So awesome. That's so valuable. I've never even thought of that. And then I guess on the other side, as I want to dig in this because I've experienced this quite severely in the smaller business sense, in under 15 employees. If you have those people that maybe you're stepping in a new role as a manager, coming into a new company, or owner of a new business, and you have existing employees, what if that person doesn't fit, that personality doesn't fit the role, and we're running businesses here, and we're trying to grow our business success, and it's something that's very hard for me to do. I don't like letting people go, and because you're learning things, but at some point, unfortunately, this has to happen because sometimes I always feel like I'm hurting the people, and I feel like if I didn't have a heart, I would, that I wouldn't have that feeling. But um, what would you recommend in those situations where that person? Yeah. Did you get the question?
I missed the part of it. You said, what do you do in a situation where you know that person?
What do you do in a situation where that person doesn't have the right personality for that role to excel in a long-term career?
Yeah, so, man, that's a great question. That's a real question for business
Yeah.
owners. So part of it goes to hiring better, right? That's real tough. Like, oh, how do I keep my car from breaking down? Well, take better care of it. But
Yeah.
they're like, well, it's broken down now. What do we do? And
Yeah.
so it's a lot easier. What they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. However, you're in a scenario, you got a team of 15, this person is not working out. Have that conversation as soon as possible. Now, here's a caution to business owners everywhere. There's, I don't know how many billboards between here and downtown for lawyers, okay? It's very important that you protect your business. So I recommend, shout out to Insperity, they have a solution called Workforce Acceleration. And they make sure they help you with being a compliant employer. That means hiring and firing, right?
Hmm.
So that's probably the first thing I would do. Then I would have that conversation really quickly. I'd reach out to my Saturday rep and say, hey, I really need to consider letting the person go. What do I need to do? And they're going to walk you through documenting, tracking their performance so that they can never come back and say they were wrongfully terminated. And this comes back to people and then process, right? There's 4 P's. We see them over and over and over again. You have to ask yourself, well, why isn't this the right person? Is it because I didn't set the proper expectations? What's going on in their life where I thought it was a good idea when I hired them, but now it's not? And taking ownership for that, because when it's your business, everything's your fault. Okay. And so taking responsibility for that, even if you didn't do it, you're still responsible for the outcome.
Yeah.
Then I talk to them. I say, hey, where do you see yourself? And being transparent, I'm not sure if this is a good fit. What do you think? There's been so many times where they're like, you know what? This isn't what I thought. My parents moved away and I'm far away from them. I'm driving there. Right. And they'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
So I had to do this when I was leading the outside sales team. We had this conversation and I helped her move to a customer success role. And we worked together on that transition. Right.
Yeah.
But it can't happen without that conversation. So protect the business first, have the conversation quickly, and support the transition, whether it's around in your company or out. Hey, I'll write you a letter of recommendation. There's no hard feelings. We just want to do what's best for both of us.
Yeah.
You'll be okay most of the time.
Yeah, well, it's definitely, as a business owner, you have to make those decisions, and it's that's just part of the role, and the accountability that you have to place on yourself as commander. And recently one of our guests on the show had such a great quote. I've written it on my board. It's like, when in command, command. Like, that's what you got to do. It's like, unfortunately, if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it. And yeah, that resonates with me, my friend. So as a business performance advisor, working with CEOs or business leaders or leadership team, what are some of the traits or practices that you have seen successful leaders do, while you're in your experience? What are some of the traits or practices?
Best practice is making training, personal professional development training, a part of your job role. Like making that a part of your culture, making that part of a regular practice, not quarterly, not annually, not when they're new hires, almost weekly. And that's something I'm developing and say, okay, how do we, yeah, you got 2,000 courses in your learning management system. Okay, great. How many of those have been viewed? And then how are they being used? Are they even in alignment with their role? And so the biggest thing I've seen where companies outpace the same industry, right, same decade, that outpace their competition is they're investing in their employees' growth. Not just once, but every single day. And the two things I see most impactful are leadership and sales. Leadership and sales. Because whether it's one person, 100 or 1,000 employees, one thing every business has in common is people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
if
It's your
was it
biggest
Peter
expense.
Drucker?
Your biggest
Say again.
expense. It's your biggest
It
expense
is
in your
the biggest
P&L,
expense.
right?
Which brings my next point is why sales comes in. Peter Drucker says that every business job is to find and keep your customer. So everyone customer facing should have sales training. Every single person that talks to a customer, whether they're prospects becoming customers or they've already signed a dotted line, they need sales training. And that's how you're going to build a growth focused company. It's not going to be some expensive software. It's not going to be implementing artificial intelligence. It's not going to be
Yeah.
some goofy sales methodology. Those may be time for those, but it's going to be investing in your people. That's the only way in this quickly changing world. That's the only way I see where companies are going to stay competitive.
On a consistent basis, you were suggesting almost weekly you're
Mm-hmm.
having some sort of training, some sort of, and what are some of the ways that you've seen those leaders implement that at those companies? Because there's a difference between making it mandatory to watch module 1.147 by Friday, whatever. Like, how have you seen the successful ones implement that?
So it looks different in a lot of different ways. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying that every week you should have a full 8 hours of training. That's going to cut productivity. That's not what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
It could be as short as 30 minutes. It can be very simple. Hey, let's do a training on asking better questions. Hey, let's do a training on what do we do? Ask
Mm,
10 of employees that and see how many different answers you get.
yeah,
Hey, who's our ideal customer? Who can we serve with excellence? See how many different answers you get. And so you have a chance to educate your team. You have a chance to get them all on the same page. And again, this things take 30 minutes. It may take an
yeah,
hour. But think about what that does to the week. If we start on Monday and I say, hey, who's our ideal client? And everybody's like, I don't know. Or they'll say, oh, architects. And they say, oh, surveyors. And they'll say, oh, contractors. And we get everyone on the same page. What does that do for the quality of our productivity for the rest of the week?
yeah. Gets
That's the
everybody
difference. And that's
rolling.
why I don't even like to call myself a sales trainer. I got to think of something else. Workforce development. I don't know. Because that's what it comes down to. It comes down to growing the people, and the end result is always, always, always growing the business.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes, well, Bruce, we're going to train these people. What if they leave? And then the counter question is, well, if you don't train them, they're underperforming, they're toxic, and they don't leave. How much does that
Yeah.
cost?
Yeah. Costs you more. Yeah. Better questions. Yeah. I definitely agree with that statement because the cost of you not acting on it is monumentally more than just running the same old process and ending up with the same results, expecting better results, so I do agree with you. That's so fundamentally important, and I really like that. One of the things we do is we have sales huddles during the week in the morning, so Monday, Wednesdays, and
Okay.
Fridays, so giving us an opportunity to correct anything from the prior day. And then one of the things we do on like a cultural standpoint is we have our fundamentals read on a Monday. So whenever we start a meeting, it's first what's the fundamental of the week, so everybody's on in line with like our values at the company. But yeah, that's something I'm going to take. That sounds really really useful. Improving the skills of people, having a 30-minute clarity meeting. I think that would even be cool. So
Well, that's good. Write that down.
that's what popped into my head. I was like, wow, I'm gonna steal that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So talking about teams and environment, so having culture of accountability and collaboration, for me, I've seen is pretty hard to foster that when you don't have the right, skill set, right skills. But what have you seen that's helped leaders drive that culture of accountability and collaboration? Because I mean, would you agree that's important for sales and it's important for growth?
Absolutely. It's tough to do, but it's not impossible. So
Hmm.
there's three things that I've seen and that I do to help generate, foster, accountability and collaboration. So the first thing is I ask for feedback. And again, you'll hear me over and over again asking better questions, right? I think I should still have that domain, www.askingbetterquestions.com. And that's really where it starts. I ask for feedback. Hey, what do you think about this? How would you approach this? Whenever you can, give it a try. Say, hey, that's great. Let's do it. That will encourage people to bring you good ideas. And they'll say, listen, Bruce may not do every single thing, but he's going to at least consider it. Okay. Second part, so asking for feedback. The second part is um, creating some autonomy. I was reading about 3M. They have paid hours every year. I can't remember the amount, where you can work on any project you want. And if I remember correctly, that's how sticky notes were invented. That wasn't even their project that they were supposed to be working on. It was just something they were doing. They had time. They had time and space to work on it. That autonomy is huge. And then accountability starts with the leader. Say, hey, I told you I was going to do this by Friday. I get it done by Thursday. And part of that is transparent reporting. Hey, you told me you're going to make 100 calls. How many calls did you make? Well, right. So asking for feedback, autonomy, and then transparent tracking. That's where, if there's some more, hey, throw them in the comments. I love to hear them. But that's where I see almost everyone can adopt and start to see that impact.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very, very cool. I think that makes a lot of sense. When you're navigating, uh, this business environment, we have business cycles up and down. We have, recessions, non-recessions. We have political implications, impacts. Just ranging challenges that can either come from an economic shift to, workforce turnover. You can have a change in industry or regulations. How do you advise companies to stay resilient and, in the face of these challenges? Like how, what are some of the things you've implemented?
So I would repeat what we mentioned earlier about asking for feedback and reaching
Hmm.
out to the client, to your internal team. On top of that, the constant reminder, just because this is the way you do it, it's not the only way to do it, and it may not be the best way to do it. Maybe it used to be the best way to do it, right? At some point, yeah, give me your fax number, I'll get those documents over you. Made a lot of sense. If you said that to me today, I probably wouldn't take you seriously as a business owner, right? I
Right.
don't even have a fax machine. For a little while, I had a digital one, but after
Yep.
that, but send me a DocuSign, right? So the only way you can fail a business is if you stop growing. And
Yeah.
that's what happens was those changes happen and they're devastating to a business because somewhere they stopped growing or maybe they were growing slowly. Change happens quickly. Technology accelerates that change. I understand. Um, some of my favorite stories, though, is like Netflix. A lot. Look this up. This is fun. Netflix started off with DVDs. A lot of people remember that. But before they sold DVDs, you know what they sold?
No.
It was dog food.
Whoa.
Hmm.
Did not know that.
So sometimes that pivot looks way different.
Yeah. Yeah. To a streaming platform now with like targeted ads, it's about to change quite. We're actually going back to like studio television. if
Yeah,
you don't
that's
have
a
the
whole other
if you
conversation.
don't have the premium stuff. But yeah, wow, that's I did not know that.
It's a
Amazing.
fun story how they even ended up selling DVDs.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely will. Wonderful. So for our entrepreneurs out there, our business leaders listening today, what's one key piece of advice? And I know you've given us, you know a multitude of your strategy, but what is one actionable step that someone could do today in their business to enhance their company's performance? Is it your four
So,
P's, or what would be at least the
man, there's
start?
so much. Actually, my one of my most popular trainings is called Five Ways to Hear Yes More Often. And I wrote this training years ago, and I thought that's too simple. It's too easy. No one's gonna pay attention. To this day, it has been one of my most requested trainings. Hey, can you do this one again? Can you come do my group? And I'll tell you the whole training. It's in 5 sentences. The first way to hear yes more often is to talk to more. The second way is ask the right people. Remember earlier I said ask the people that want to buy from you. The third is asking better questions. You hear me say that a lot, right? The fourth one is
Yeah.
ask more than once. The fifth one is
Mm,
ask for the referral. So you said, what's the one thing I can help you grow your business today that you can use today and it
yeah.
won't cost you any money? Ask for a referral.
Yeah.
Everyone that told you no, ask them, say, hey, thank you so much for giving me an honest answer. Who do you know that could benefit from the transformation we provide? Then go ask all the people that have paid you, that told you yes. Say, hey, thank you for the opportunity to serve you. You do me a favor. We want two more like you. Would you send them this email?
That's
You do that
amazing
today,
feedback.
I guarantee you it's not going to be a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you ask your fans if they have people like them that they can recommend you to that need your service, guys. That's awesome, Bruce. I think that's super valuable, and guys, go out there and implement that if you want to have some results, immediate results. I think that's gold right there, boys. Okay. And so one of the things that I always ask my guests is what's next? What's next for you guys? What's next for this year? I know we're at the beginning of the year, so what's next for Bruce?
Oh, I love that question because a lot of times we talk about, oh, tell us about you won this award or you did this, wrote this book. You're that way. Thank you for asking that. So for me, I'm developing two things. I'm working on my fourth book, my second solo project. It's called Better Questions, Better Clients. That's in editing right now, so I'm super excited about that. Parallel to that, I'm building a sales community where professional services, businesses, entrepreneurs, they can come in, they can put their team in there and get those weekly, what do we call them? Clarity meetings, right? And so that's where I want to start, or not start, I've started. I want to continue to grow so I can serve many people well with less time. And
Yeah,
so I've been gone putting my courses in there, making sure like conversations like this are accessible so that you have a sales consultant at your fingertips. You don't have to wait till you miss your quarter. I mean, I need some help. Let's make
yeah.
sure that help and support is a continuous thing so we can have more success stories.
And those your offering is you have different training modules within there from your success you've had over the years and stuff that these people can
That's a
do
great
on
question.
demand or
So it's live. I
okay.
think there's just so many trainings recorded,
Yeah,
but having a live feedback lets it be tailored and personalized for your needs.
gotcha.
So you could join the general community, or if you want to set up, maybe you have a team of 10, 15, 20, we set up a private one for them so it's tailored to your business. But that way, and again, you can document those live conversations, but you say, hey, man, I talked to a customer, they said this, this, and this, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You can't really ask that to YouTube. I don't know, maybe you can search through 1,000 videos, you might find that one, or you could just ask. And so that's what we're building here, New Skills, New You, to support growth, revenue growth, and customer retention of companies.
Love that. Well, I'm excited for this offering, and I'm excited to see your growth, my friend. Like it's been incredible hearing about your story, your commitment to growth, and fostering the right people for the right seat. I think it resonates with me, and as a business owner, having that coaching and mentoring is huge. Like
Yes.
cut the distance and the length of time that it takes to get to the result by in half or maybe even shorter by having the right advisors with you. So Bruce, I enjoyed this so much today, and I look forward to seeing your continued success, my friend.
Thank you for the invite and the conversation. I appreciate you.
Thank you.